Greetings, citizens of the world. The Senate is aiming to finish its work on a mammoth annual defense bill before leaving Washington midweek. The House left town on Thursday until the 25th. Senators are scheduled to be in session through Wednesday, before taking a two-day state work period for Rosh Hashanah. But before then, leadership wants to wrap up the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, after a fight over amendments forced lawmakers to end debate and run out the clock. More than 400 amendments were filed to the legislation, which lays out broad guidelines on foreign policy and for the Pentagon, with roughly 100, so far, worked into the bill by unanimous consent. But a back and forth over votes on some senators' more controversial amendments brought debate on the bill to a standstill, with Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RK, moving to wrap up debate late last week. Senator John McCain, Republican Arizona, the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, said the disagreement circled around four amendments, one from the Senator Mike Lee, Republican Utah, barring indefinite detention, one from the Senator Tammy Baldwin, Democrat Wisconsin, tightening Buy American requirements for the Pentagon, one from the Senator Dick Durbin, DL, stripping limitations on medical research funded by the Pentagon, and one from Senator Tom Cotton, Republican Arkansas, repealing enforcement of spending caps. I must say that we're at an impasse on about four amendments, all four of which are important amendments, and we simply can't get an agreement, McCain said late last week. That means an amendment from Senators Kirsten Gillibrand, DNY, and Susan Collins, Republican Maine, blocking Trump's ban on transgender troops won't get a vote. Instead, the two senators joined with McCain and Senator Jack Reed, DRI, the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, to introduce a standalone bill. It's a familiar predicament for the NDAA. Though it normally clears the Senate by a large bipartisan margin, its status as a must-pass bill makes it a lightning rod for other proposals. The push toward wrapping up the bill comes after Senator Rand Paul, RK, threatened to slow-walk the defense bill and block any other amendments from getting a vote until the Senate voted on his proposal to sunset two war authorizations. Senators shot down that measure Wednesday in a 61-36 vote. The Senate is expected to finish the NDAA on Monday night. A final procedural vote is scheduled at 5:30 p.m., where the bill will need, and is expected to easily get, 60 votes. Lawmakers will then immediately move to final passage. Once the legislation passes the upper chamber, senators will need to head to conference with the House to merge their two versions of the bill. Two potential areas of conflict include a fight over funding levels and whether or not Congress should back creating a new military branch dedicated to space, called the Space Corps. Nominations. The Senate is also expected to take up Trump's pick for the number 3 spot at the Justice Department. Senators, absent an agreement, are scheduled to take up an initial vote on Noel Francisco's nomination to be Solicitor General on Tuesday morning. The role would bring him before the Supreme Court to argue on behalf of the government. Francisco, whose background largely leans toward Republicans, formerly practiced law at Jones Day, including successfully defending former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, in his corruption case. He also represented religious nonprofits seeking exemption from a provision in Obamacare that required employers to pay for contraception coverage. Francisco advanced out of the Judiciary Committee in June on a party-line 11-9 vote. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RK, and Minority Leader Charles Schumer, DNY, could be overheard joking about his nomination as part of Senate floor conversation picked up on a hot mic late last week. Schumer, told that Francisco clerked for the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, asked, "Do we nominate